Dapo Abiodun says his administration is working towards ensuring that the state takes advantage of its oil-rich deposits and becomes an oil-producing state. Governor Abiodun expressed disappointment that Ogun State lost a $16 billion Dangote refinery to Lagos after a break in discussion between the immediate past administration and the company.
A $16 billion was lost. 12%. That project was conceived with the aim of not just refining petroleum production, but also taking advantage of the mining leases that were awarded around that corridor that had not begun to be exploited. We also know that we have very rich oil reserves in Convenience Island around the Niwa corridor. Ogun State is in what we call the Gamboni Basin, which is a basin that starts from Nigeria that goes all the way to every one of the states that corridor are oil producing today. Even Ogun State, and Lagos. So naturally, Ogun State will become oil producing, and we are working assiduously on that. So I accept this challenge. We will further strengthen our resolve to ensure that we bring Ogun State to all of these factors in the very near future.
However, expressed optimism that the state will become oil producing, saying its administration is working assiduously to further strengthen the resolve so as to ensure that the Gateway State attain oil producing status in the very near future. Abiodun, while also noting that he had the privilege to work as the chairman of the Olokola Free Trade Zone that was made to have the refinery sited in the state, added that the project was not just conceived with the aim of refining petroleum products only, but also to take advantage of the mining lease that has been awarded around the corridor. The Augusta government has begun demolition of some shanties along Lagos-Ibadan Expressway to rid the axis of environmental hazards and to keep the state safe from unwanted diseases. Senior Special Assistant to the Governor on Environment led a delegation aided by the security agencies to carry out the operation. Bumi Adegun was there and in our reports.
After several warnings with notices from government to people, we erected shanties along Lagos-Ibadan Expressway and of Ogun State. Time was up for them. The government said it could not fold its arms to watch this side of the road taken over by deaths. Beginning from Kara to the Shagamu interchange and to Abeokuta, it is now an offense for anyone to erect shanties by the roadside. Despite the day being a public holiday, the State Ministry of Environment still went out to carry out the enforcement. Owners of the shanties were caught unawares, even with government's several notices. Senior Special Assistant to the Governor on Environment, Farouk Akitunde, led the enforcement exercise.
We have given them notice of evacuation to leave all these places. You know, this place is very strategic. This is the gateway state in Nigeria. And if you have all this kind of a thing within here, it speaks more about the people and the government. And that is why we have decided that we have to clear all these places off. They have all the opportunity to move back, to move into a market. This is all about trading. This is all about businesses and trading. And there are specialized places for those activities.
In the course of discharging these enforcement activities, you could see a lot of things that we met on field. And these are the pests that you see harboring within human habitations. And you see a lot of them we feed on leftover meals, and in the following morning, there will have been some secretions, there would have been some feces being passed into those leftover meals, and before you know it, in the morning they will just come, probably warm the soup or whatever that is left over and resell to people. And before you know it, people will have consumed, things that pests and vectors will have, taken rid of.
Some had started the evacuation process, while those who are adamant or gone on holidays will meet their shanties removed. While the evacuation process was on, a fight ensued between scavengers and the shanty owners. Unfortunately, the reporter was made to understand these places have been paid for, to who remains a question begging for an answer. This exercise will be carried out across the state. According to the state government, there will be no more room for display of goods and services on walkways, drainages, reserved places, as necessary setbacks must be adhered to at all points where government have placed them. Bumi Adigun, Ogtv News.
The Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, has given reasons why President Muhammadu Buhari would not sign the new electoral law, insisting that the law has not captured the interest of all Nigerians. He said the new electoral law has an excessive cost implication, is discriminatory, as well as supportive of insecurity, adding that signing it into law will only initiate a new crisis that will lead to court cases. The minister said the job of the president is that of politics, economy, business, security, legislation, politicians and non-politicians, adding that this is because the leadership of the country is not for politicians alone, saying it is a leadership that affects the social life of the people, their religion, economy, security, and others. He said it is contrary to the leadership of the legislators, which is solely political. According to the minister, the lawmakers are only concerned about their political inclination, while the president is concerned about the entire lives of Nigerians, made up of politicians and non-politicians. Meanwhile, Chairman, Senate Committee on Rules and Business, Senator Umar Sadiq, has said that senators have not dumped the 2021 Electoral Amendment Act, but only decided to speak with stakeholders and constituents during the current break on whether or not to override President Muhammadu Buhari's veto on it. The senator also said that the seeming present attitude of the Senate to the president's assent refusal was to prevent a looming constitutional crisis. Sadiq said this while fielding questions from journalists. He explained that overriding the president's veto requires a two-thirds vote of both chambers, adding that since the House of Representatives was in a recess, having on Tuesday adjourned until January 2022 without a decision on the issue, whatever the Senate may have chosen to do would, according to him, be an exercise in futility. He added that rather than the Senate getting condemned for inaction or getting accused of backtracking, Nigerians should instead await its decision. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, said the federal government is judiciously utilizing the money recovered from looted assets by some Nigerians in financing capital projects in the country. He said President Muhammadu Buhari's led administration has so far executed many capital projects in all nooks and crannies of Nigeria with the recovered assets, adding that all was successful as a result of the policies to strengthen the fight against corruption. According to Malami, Nigeria has recovered a huge amount of money from Switzerland, which helped the administration achieve a lot, adding that they also recovered the sum of $311 million from China. Malami, however, was of the opinion that the fight against corruption by the government has continued to record tremendous growth, which prompted international organizations to commend the country's performance in the process. Couples have been advised to embrace the virtue of tolerance and understanding as panacea for marital bliss. This was the advice of the Secretary to the Ogun State Government, Mr. Tokunbo Talabi, to a new couple, Mr. Adeyinka and Mrs. Jadesola Olayinka, at their wedding ceremony held in Shagamu of Ogun State. Talabi, who is also the chairman of the occasion, said love, understanding, and tolerance are rare virtues that we not only make home building seamless, but also nation building.
Every time that it looks like it's a little bit wobbly, remember the son and the daughter of India. Deji, your responsibility is clear. Okay? Take care of your wife. Some of the taking care of means protection. Protection even from herself. You need to protect her from herself. You need to protect her from the people around you as well.
On our part, the mother of the bride, Honorable Justice Yetunde Oresanya, said the event marked the happiest day in her life as she gives her first daughter in marriage, noting that challenges are inevitable in marriage, but admonished the couple to explore dialogue maximally. And still to come in the news, Akwa Ibom State government shuts down 12 fake medical laboratories for alleged illegality. We'll bring you details after this time out. Don't go away.
Harmattan is characterized with cold, dust, and heavy wind. This can result in dryness of the skin, cracky lip, eye, respiratory organ, and other related diseases, which can also lead to spontaneous nose bleeding in some people. During dry season, always dust your environment regularly and keep it clean. Avoid caffeine. Drink a lot of water to stay hydrated. It also helps moisturizes the body. Bathe with warm water to keep the body clean. Use moisturizing lotion or shea butter to avoid cracky skin. Apply lip balm or lip gloss to avoid cracky lip. Wear sunshade when walking under the sun to protect the eye. Take good care of your body during the dry season and stay healthy.
Thanks for joining us in part 2 of the news. As tributes continue to pour in for the late South African Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu, who died at the age of 90 in Cape Town, South Africa. Ogtv News in this special report takes a look at the life and times of a foremost priest who played a significant role in the road to democracy in South Africa.
The system of this country, apartheid, is immoral. The system of this country is evil.
He was first and foremost a priest and not a politician.
Our hands and we say, we will be free!
Desmond Tutu was known for his intolerance towards bad governance and inhuman treatment. He was very prominent for his role in the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa and is used of the pulpit to speak truth to power.
I am warning you. I am warning you that we will pray as we prayed for the downfall of the apartheid government. We will pray for the downfall of a government that misrepresents us.
Archbishop Tutu turned his own misfortune into a teaching opportunity to raise awareness and reduce sufferings of others. Desmond Tutu during his lifetime was a beacon of light for the human rights movement in South Africa and Africa as a whole. His commitment to equality and rights for all served as a much-needed moral compass during the turbulent apartheid era and today.
We've been given the Nobel Peace Prize it doesn't really belong to you. Or in a way you can say it makes you answerable to the world. I mean, the world, as it were, has a piece of you.
Born on October 7, 1931, in Klerksdorp, South Africa, Desmond Tutu, a South African Anglican cleric in 1984, received the Nobel Prize for Peace for his role in the opposition to apartheid in South Africa.
When you want peace, you negotiate not with your friends. That is what at least we discovered in South Africa. That is what they discovered in Northern Ireland. You talk to the ones that you least like.
Tutu was born of Xhosa and Swana parents and was educated in South African mission schools at which his late father taught. Tutu wanted a medical career but was unable to afford training and instead became a school teacher in 1955, where he resigned in 1957 before moving to St. Peter's Theological College in Johannesburg and was ordained as Anglican priest in 1961. In 1962, he moved to London where he obtained a master's degree from King's College. Tutu served as an associate director for the World Council of Churches between 1972 and 1975. He was the first black South African to hold the post of Dean of St. Mary's Cathedral in Johannesburg from 1976 to 1978. Tutu retired from the primacy in 1996 and became Archbishop Emeritus in July 2010. He authored numerous publications, including Divine Intention 1982, a collection of his sermons, No Future, Without Forgiveness, among others. He died on December 26, 2021, after battling with prostate cancer for several years at the age of 90.
With that report, now we're joined by an academic who studied and lived some times past in South Africa and who should know well the life and the contributions of late Desmond Tutu to the development of South Africa. Welcome to Ogtv News, Dr. Jendele Ngbo.
Thank you very much.
And let me start like this. The news of the death of Desmond Tutu, how did it come to you?
Well, it didn't really come as a shock, perhaps because of his age and the fact that several times he'd been rumored to be dead, and then we found out that he didn't die. But this time around, I was just watching the news. I was on the South African channel, and then I saw breaking news that he had died. And then, after that, there was a press conference talking about how he died and talking about plans for people to give their condolences and also on some road closures around his house because there was going to be heavy traffic movement and things like that. So, for a 90-year-old, it's not too much of a root shock. But again, one was thinking that because he's a very important figure in South African history, he's contributed so much to the trajectory of the development of that country, one would expect that maybe he should live a little longer than that. But God is wiser than all of us, and so that happened. Yeah.
You've once lived in South Africa, and based on what you have just said, what would you say is the most remarkable impact of this man on old and contemporary South Africa?
Well, several things would make his life very remarkable. He's had a great impact on that country, on the development of the country. First and foremost, the fact that he was the first black man to ever become a bishop in the Anglican Communion in South Africa, that's quite remarkable. That's a great impact. And also to rise to the level of Archbishop when he became the Archbishop of Cape Town. He was serving in Johannesburg before he became the Archbishop of Cape Town. But beyond that, he brought a whole lot of innovations into the lives of the clergy, or into the work of the clergy in South Africa. Here was a churchman who was advocating for universal suffrage in South Africa. He was a freedom fighter. He was a human rights activist. He was a humorist. He was so many things. And so the kind of liberation theology that Bishop Tutu preached kind of revolutionized Christianity. It revolutionized everything ecclesiastical about South African life. And so a lot of people looked up to him. And his involvement in the negotiation for the return of South Africa to democratic rule, so to say, from apartheid rule is somewhat very impactful. But much more than that, the greater role that he played was perhaps in the post-apartheid negotiations. First, within the black race. I mean, black on black violence was the order of the day, and then he had to be involved in a lot of negotiations between different groups that were fighting with each other on the basis of different kinds of ideologies as to how they should handle post-apartheid South Africa. On top of that was his headship of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission that was the main platform upon which South Africans began to think about how they lived their lives after what had happened in the past. And so he was leading the negotiations, and he was also leading the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, where people came to kind of bring to the public things that were hidden in the past. And that was a great, for him, for those who loved him and those who hated him, it was a platform for him to show who he really was. A humorous man, a very sentimental and emotional man. All of us are entitled to our emotions. And so when he was listening to those stories during the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, anyone would be traumatized. You will see that on several occasions. He broke down. He wept, listening to the kinds of atrocities that the state had committed against the people, and which some atrocities also which some members of the anti-apartheid movement. Because you see, when you oppress a people for too long and they need to liberate themselves, you cannot take away the aspect of violence. So the kind of violence that was visited by the state on the black population was something that would break any strong man. But again, people were looking at Desmond Tutu from the angle of his humorous self. They were not really looking at him from the perspective of a priest who, after reading the Bible for so long, and after leaving South Africa to go to King's College London to study theology, would come back to listen to stories and behave like being human. Okay, so that was natural. So his impact is on several platforms. And again, people will also remember him. He had a lot of impact in fighting for different kinds of rights, gender rights, issues of sexual orientation, for example. He was there, and he was taking positions that were very strange to people. I mean, because at the end of the day, he will tell you that, look, we are all human beings after all, and so we should be treated just as human beings, and not because you are female, you are gay, you are not gay, or you are this or you are not that. Yeah.
Right. So many words to describe Desmond Tutu. Apart from being a churchman, did he really come close to Thabo Mbeki or Nelson Mandela in the history of activism in South Africa?
I mean, it would be like comparing apples and oranges. If you are talking about Desmond Tutu and you are talking about Thabo Mbeki, I mean, you would rather talk about Thabo Mbeki's father. Thabo Mbeki is not anywhere close to Desmond Tutu. Because Desmond Tutu was in the struggle with people like Oliver Tambo, with people like Nelson Mandela, Chris Hani, and all of them. So if you talk about Desmond Tutu, those are the kind of people you should be talking about, okay? But if you talk about Thabo Mbeki will just be at the feet of Desmond Tutu, learning the ropes of how to contribute to humanism, how to contribute to developing a country, whether economically or socially, or how to bring people together. He was an advocate of peace, for God's sake. And then, see, his own kind of peace was a piece of give and take. For him, he didn't believe that anybody should see himself or herself as a total winner or as a complete winner. So he served as a moderating force between the white and the black. And that's why Desmond Tutu was like somebody who was standing between the devil and the deep blue sea. Some people liked him. A sizable population of the white people would say, oh no, he was too radical. But the black people will also look at him and say, no, he was too conciliatory. Because immediately after apartheid, the blacks wanted to show the white people that, look, you offended us, and this is the time for us to ask for our own pound of flesh.
I will take you up on that now.
Okay.
I want you to tell us the strength of Desmond Tutu in the fight against apartheid in South Africa.
His strength, one, was his eloquence, number one. Number two was his sense of humor. Where you thought that people were going to break one another another's heads, Desmond Tutu will come on with a humorous quote. And that would be a very powerful quote. Take, for example, when he was going to talk about homophobia in South Africa, he said, I would rather prefer to go to a peaceful hell than go to a homophobic heaven. So if you look at that kind of statement, it's like, okay, fine. What exactly do you want? So whether you are for or against, he was already creating an avenue for you to air your views and to see that you are included. He was a man of inclusivity. He wanted to see a South Africa that was peaceful and prosperous. Because see, usually when you come out of any conflict, usually there are still potentials for a regression into the state of anomy from which you are coming. And so that's when you need statesmen who will rise to the stage. Desmond Tutu was one of such people who rose to the stage to say, hey, come, guys, we must forgive one another. I mean, the blacks must forgive the whites must forget about things they did in the past, and they must see that there's a new order. And in that new order, everybody must come to the table. And in coming to the table, we must all think about how to build a peaceful country rather than want to continue in our sense of hate and animosities against one another.
Does South Africa still have people like Desmond Tutu?
It will be very difficult to find somebody exactly like Desmond Tutu, but they have a lot of people who are coming up, who one can say are becoming beacons of hope for a peaceful South Africa. And one example of that is the retired Chief Justice Mokoen, who's been a very cerebral character. You also have that lady Thuli Madonsela, who was the head who was the public protector in South Africa, who has done tremendous work and who still carry such qualities that you find in him. You may not find a lot of those kind of qualities in their politicians, but a few of them too, like Musi Maimani, I see coming up young guys, and so you have a lot of hope that some other guys are still there who can carry on the torch.
Our time is fast spent,
right.
But before I allow you to go, I want you to answer this question before you go.
Yeah.
What lessons are there to learn from the life and times of Desmond Tutu?
Well, do whatever you believe in and pursue it with every vigor that you have. Desmond Tutu became a foremost world figure today, having won the Nobel, having won several other prizes. He has a foundation, the Tutu Foundation, that's going to carry on his good work after him. And that's a lesson to every African leader. I mean, whether you are a leader in the political sense or the religious sense or whatever sense, that what is important is what we are able to offer the people at the end of the day. Desmond Tutu was not running after property, he was not running after the wealth of this world, and so today we celebrate him as a very successful man, and that's one big lesson that all of us should learn in terms of contributing to whatever we find ourselves doing.
Dr. Jendile, we want to thank you so much for coming. You've really enlightened us on some of those things we need to know. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you.
We hope that next time when we call you, you will oblige.
I'll try.
Thanks so much. I've been talking with Dr. Jendile Ngbo on the life and times of Desmond Tutu of South Africa. We take a short break now, and when we return, the news continues. Don't go away. For a few minutes now, we've been engaging Professor Jendile Ngbo on Desmond Tutu. The news continues now. The Akwa Ibom Commissioner for Health, Professor Augustine Uma, said that he has closed 12 medical laboratories for allegedly involving in unwholesome medical practices dangerous to excellent healthcare delivery services. Uma made the disclosure to newsmen in Uyo after the inspection team sealed some laboratories He said the clampdown was in compliance with the directive from the State Executive Council over substandard services of medical laboratories operators in the state. The commissioner listed offences of the sealed laboratories to include lack of certificate of registration with the State Ministry of Health, non-e-evidence of registration with Medical Laboratory Council of Nigeria, lack of qualified laboratory scientists and other supporting staff in the laboratories. Superfoods Abeokuta has held this year's end of the year children's party as children and parents enjoyed themselves to the fullest. Elizabeth Esson, who witnessed the event held at the Superfoods headquarters premises, Iteko Abeokuta, reports that parents turned out in their numbers with the children for this year's celebration. A report.
Every 26th of December of every year, Superfoods Abeokuta always puts smiles on the faces of children and parents within and around the metropolis, as they are always treated to educative and entertaining activities. To the coordinator, Superfoods End of the Year Children Party, Mrs. Folashade Ajose, the annual event is to say thank you to customers and in appreciation to God for seeing them through the year. Next year, parents and the children are going to enjoy Superfoods. More wonderful programs. Some of the children and parents who spoke with Ogtv News commended Superfoods for the yearly program and urged them to improve on its activities.
It's from a friend, and it's been very, very interesting since we got here. My children have really enjoyed themselves. It's fun.
This is one of its kind in Abeokuta, because every year they always have something new and unique to show to us.
It's an event that we want to attend again.
Because this place is lovely, you have everything, and this place, Superfood generally is very, very good.
Various competitions among the children and parents characterized this year's celebration as the Superfood Santa Claus passed by to bid the children farewell, parting with last gifts for the children. Elizabeth Esson, Ogtv News.
The Police Officers' Wives Association, POA, Ogun State Chapter, celebrated the festive season by extending love to children at the Stella Obasanjo home in Abeokuta, wife of the State Commissioner of Police, who is also chairperson of POA in the state, Mrs. Modupeola Bankole, alongside other wives in the association, were at the orphanage to present the items. The group did not only give out gift items, but also had fun playing with the children. Mrs. Bankole described the season as one of love and also a time to give only without expecting anything in return.
Well, because we're in the season of love celebration, so we are here to celebrate with the children, to tell them we love them, we care for them, we are together, they are not here alone, to reassure them that the future is bright.
Coordinator of the home described the initiative as a good one, worthy of emulation by others.
At least they are sharing the joy of the season with our children and making them feel they are not alone, we are all together in the same place. So whatever God has given to us is meant to be shared. It's not meant for us alone, and as much as God puts within our capacity, we should show love to people around us.
That was the coordinator of Stella Obasanjo Children's Home during the visit of POA to the orphanage. The Federal Fire Services in Yola rescued 8 persons and saved property worth 3.8 billion naira in 64 fire incidents in the state in 2021. Mr. Philip Odu, Yola Zonal Commander of the service, disclosed this on Monday in Yola. He said from January 2021 to date, the command has attended to 64 fire outbreak calls carried out 11 rescue operations, during which 8 lives were saved while 3 lives were lost. The zonal commander identified lack of public cooperation as a major challenge affecting the command services, especially during operations. He also identified the obsolete Fire Service Act of 1963, non-compliance with Fire Safety Code by state government to attend to the needs and welfare of fire service as some of the challenges militating against its operations. The police command in the Federal Capital Territory said it has arrested 4 suspects and impounded 21 cars over illegal car races and other similar offenses in Abuja. The police public relations officer in the FCT, DSP Josephine Adi, made this known in a statement. Adi said the suspects were arrested and the cars impounded under the enforcement of Regulation 228 of the Road Traffic Act on the prohibition of illegal car races and other similar offenses. The police public relations officer said the enforcement team, led by the Commissioner of Police in charge of the FCT, Babaji Sunday, arrested and impounded the cars. The police command in the FCT had earlier ordered full enforcement of the prohibition of all kinds of cars and speed races in the territory. The order followed public outcry on the menace of recklessness, the risk to lives, and damage to personal property, as well as critical national infrastructure caused by car and speed races. Up next is business news.
Welcome to the business segment of the news. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has ended the year on a bright note after it won an award as the overall best company in oil and gas reform at the Open Government Partnership Global Awards, which was held in Seoul, South Korea rather. Nigeria picked the award at the expense of other members' countries in Africa and the Middle East that were implementing a beneficial ownership registry to end anonymous companies in their countries. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, congratulated Nigeria on the award and noted that establishing a beneficial ownership register had helped Nigeria track, reduce and arrest corrupt practices that are undertaken either by companies or beneficial owners of companies. The Deputy Director, Head Communication and Advocacy of the Nigerian Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, Obiageli Onora, said in a statement that a lot of factors were considered before Nigeria was picked for the award. Onora said the summit considered the government's overall commitment to reforms in the oil, gas and mining sector, as well as the support given to NATI to establish a beneficial ownership register of companies in the business in Nigeria extractive sector. Nigeria lost crude oil valued at about 556 billion naira between August and October this year due to pipeline vandalism, community interference, sabotage of oil facility, amongst others. Latest industry data obtained from the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited showed data compiled from the Crude Oil Marketing Division reports of events that affected oil production in August, September and October 2021 indicated that the country consistently posted losses during the period under review. In August, September and October 2021, the average cost of a barrel of Brent, the crude against which Nigeria oil is priced, were $70.75, $74.49 and $83.54, according to data from Statistical, a global statistical firm. Data released by the Debt Management Office has showed that the federal government in 2021 raised 2.72 trillion naira through federal government bonds as well as 8.09 billion naira through savings bond. This is as analysts have urged the government to ensure that the debt being incurred is used to improve on the country's growth. The amount raised through the federal government bond was a 44% improvement on which it raced through the bond auctions in 2020 when it raised 1.8 trillion naira. Last year's outcome was influenced by COVID-19 pandemic and restrictions, which stopped the savings bond auction from holding between April to July. They, however, noted that the onus is on the federal government to make productive use of the borrowed funds to improve GDP growth and, by extension, ensure economic development. And on the stock market, equity dealers have projected that the domestic markets will close bullish this week following positioning by bargain hunters on dividends-paying stock ahead of full-year financial results release and dividends declaration by the quoted companies. This is even as investors lost 47 billion naira last week on the back of losses in some blue-chip stock. Profit-taking activities had dominated activities in the market in the previous week, with decline recorded in 3 of the 5 trading sessions. Specifically, the Nigerian Exchange Limited All-Share Index fell by 0.2% to close the week at 42,353.31 points. The Nigerian capital markets will commence implementation of a new set of tougher and more stringent corporate governance rules, which are aimed at ensuring directors and management of quoted companies uphold full and prompt disclosures. The new set of rules were approved by Nigerian Apex Capital Market Regulator Securities and Exchange Commission after they had gone through the full process of rulemaking, including exposure of the draft to stakeholders and approval of the Council of the NJS Regulation Limited, the self-regulatory organization that regulates activities at the Nigerian Exchange. The new rules are scheduled to take effect on the first trading day of 2022, Tuesday, January 4, 2022. The implementation is coming 3 years after the NGS first drafted the amendment underlying this procedure undertaken by the stakeholders because of the far-reaching impact of the rules on the market. Chief Executive Officer, NGS Regulation Limited, Tinu Adiawe, confirmed that the market would begin implementation of amendments to major rules dealing with board meetings and general meetings as trading commences in 2022. Over 101 million telecommunications subscribers risk disconnection if the December 31 deadline for the National Identity Number and Subscriber Identity Model Data Verification is not extended. A source in the Association of Licensed Telecom Operators of Nigeria revealed that only about 90 million subscribers had linked their SIMs to their NIN. According to the source, the association and the Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, Issa Pachami, are currently discussing the likelihood of an extension. According to the Nigerian Communications Commission, there were over 2 million connected lines in Nigeria in October, and only over 1 million lines were active. And that brings us to the end of business news. Many thanks for staying with us. It's back to Bukola.